Welcome. In many of my blog posts and videos, I've talked about CPTSD. So I'm just going to briefly remind you of what that is. CPTSD stands for complex PTSD, and it's a condition that can arise in reaction to a series of events that repeatedly occur over an extended period of time. It's a trauma reaction. Now, on a lighter note, what is smart people's disease? That is my smart mouthed way to describe a common obstacle that I see in a lot of my CPTSD clients. Here in the Bay Area, there are a lot of really smart, successful men and women, and many of them have gone to fancy schools and racked up quite a bit of formal education. They are fortunate to have been blessed with the gift of having a lot of mental horsepower. They think fast and have a strong tendency to bypass their feelings and jump to abstract thinking. But here's the problem. Often these clients are not so good at recognizing their thoughts and beliefs as thoughts and beliefs. They think that they are living in a world of facts that they are perceiving clearly. Now, I think that there are actually a lot of social and cultural reasons for this too, and that's part of why I'm making this video. If you have CPTSD and it's co-occurring with smart people's disease, then you are probably prone to certain very predictable relationship pitfalls. First, you might just be hypnotized by your own and your partner's interpretation of events. And those can be argued or dismissed. Secondly, because you get overly focused on your thoughts and words, you're going to overlook emotions and you're going to ignore and mishandle all sorts of attachment cues and threat responses in yourself and in your partner. In short, you will fail as a couple to effectively co-regulate. And when this happens, you're not going to be able to repair hurts and fears, and you are not going to be able to build a solid foundational level of body-based emotional trust between the two of you. Your relationship will be filled instead with the push and pull, the clinging, the distancing, the guardedness, the resentment, and the insecurity that make intimacy so tough for people who have a trauma history. So, today, I'm going to share with you a technique that I've seen help many couples where one or both have trauma histories. But before I do, I want to be upfront with you. I want to say something important to you. This video is for informational and educational purposes only. I am not your therapist, and I recommend that you only use techniques like this when you have been given the go ahead by your therapist. This is important because right now we are drowning in self help methods that can sometimes be harmful. Full disclosure, I'm a huge fan of self help. I think it's kind of fun. That's how geeky I am with it. And I'm a huge fan of complementary healing methods, but it is important that they be used wisely. And this is especially true if you have developmental trauma or CPTSD. The method I'm about to describe deepens intimacy, and it can do so very rapidly. So, for many people with CPTSD, that is actually not a safe thing to do. And that's because intimacy and closeness are typically quite triggering and destabilizing for you and your partner if one or both of you has a trauma history. Many people cannot do this without the hands on guidance of a trauma therapist who can help steer a vulnerable conversation away from the danger zones and guide you in terms of how to handle your intense emotions and thereby build emotional and safety and trust. Now, intuitively, we all understand that there are times to let sleeping dogs lie because talking about certain topics will raise the threat level beyond what both of you can effectively manage. We know that it is not wise to go certain places at certain times. If you don't believe me or you're not sure what I'm talking about, just ask around in your circles, and you're going to quickly hear stories of people who felt traumatized and harmed by couples therapy that went completely off the rails when emotions ran too high. So, having said all this, let me tell you why I use this technique when I'm working with couples where one or both have a trauma history. It's because, and if that's you, you're very likely to be excellent at ignoring and avoiding the body based reactions that are the human threat responses. And that's because you probably learned early on to just move on, just take care of business and ignore the intense fear, anger, and shame that you feel, the strong feelings that are coursing through your body. You might be prone instead to urgently just jump into problem solving, debating, or avoiding things, not rocking the boat, because that's going to be the best way to get the most connection that you can. It's also likely that you never actually experienced or witnessed validation, only invalidation. And invalidation tends to dysregulate people. So, in short, you never learned how to do it. This technique is kind of like a pair of training wheels, and it has the potential to keep you and your partner from just wiping out and getting hijacked by all of the reactions that don't work. And those are the reactions that I just named. So here's the technique. It's a structured, somatically based communication format. And when I work with couples, I encourage them to be very strict with themselves and not allow themselves to deviate at all from the plan structure. Step one, plan in advance how long each of you has for your turn. You're practicing a deep form of conversation. And this requires turn taking, it requires predictability, precision, and heedfulness. So, in advance, you might agree, for example, that each of you gets 5 minutes of clock time before you pause and switch. Set a timer. Don't let yourself get carried away by emotional intensity. Don't let yourself get swept up. Step two, describe your body sensations, movement impulses, and what it feels like to be in your body right now. Name your emotions. For example, anger, hurt, desire, fear. This is not a time to tell stories, to describe your beliefs, or to list out your interpretations. Just name the feelings for now. So you might say, to make up an example, I feel tight in my stomach and scared and frustrated. Now, step three, you say what you want right now, very simply, and what you don't want right now, very simply. And it should be both simple and actionable. For example, you might say, I feel tight in my stomach, scared and frustrated. And I just want you to look me in the eye and touch my hand for a minute. I don't want you to give advice right now. I just want you to look at me and touch my hand. So, for example, in a recent session, a client of mine did this so well. She turned to her partner in a session and said, I feel very embarrassed and very scared right now. My body just wants to run out of this office and hide. I want you to speak very, very slowly and very softly and quietly to me. And interestingly, her partner was able to hear that and do that. So, step 4, validation. And as I said, validation is just simple acceptance and acknowledgement. It isn't agreement. That is a mistake. That's a misunderstanding. It's acknowledging verbally. So, for example, I know your stomach is tight. I know you just want to bolt out of here and you feel scared. And this is where if you can give your partner what he or she wants, go ahead and do it. If not, you might say something about that when the timer goes off and it's your turn. You can just describe what you're hearing them say and um, just move on to the next phase. And the next phase is when you switch roles and you take your turn with your partner for 5 minutes. So this is very structured, somatically based communication. It's an exercise that can cut right to the heart of the matter very quickly. And as I said, many, if not most people cannot do this without the presence, skill, and guidance of a therapist who's not caught up in your dynamic and who can objectively see what's going on with both of you and help you. I hope that this video has been interesting. I also hope it's been helpful for you. And if it has, please like, subscribe, and share it. You can also learn much more about overcoming the effects of trauma by visiting my website, www.michaelgquirke.com. Thanks so much, and I hope you have a great day.